Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, on now the St. Bye week that's coming up here. A 4-1 bye week after a great performance last night in the Louisiana Superdome. I'm sorry, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I still call it by the old name. Simply an incredible evening. I was there, and I still can't get over. In fact, here's the ticket right here. I got my little ticket hanging up there. I still can't believe how that this even happened. And it's so fitting that it was on a deep pass for a touchdown, and just a really, really special moment. One of many in his career, and to hear the crap that was being said after Breeze broke this record from people like Maurice Jones-Drew and some of these other announcers who just kind of were poo-pooing that, well, he plays in a dome. Where's all the championships? Where's all the playoff appearances? Where's all the wins? To hear this kind of stuff when I'm old enough to have been around when Dan Marino was doing these things, and nobody said, yeah, but, they were always like, Dan Marino's a great player. They would blame the organization for not surrounding Dan Marino with more talent. They would blame Don Shula, the winningest coach in NFL history. They blame him for not giving Marino a running game. All these things. I'm sorry, I'm going into my rant already, and I haven't introduced anybody yet.
Some people just cannot be happy.
Well, it's so frustrating because I got 40-something years of football I've watched, and I promise you, no one has ever said, yeah, but to people's accomplishments until now. Now, suddenly, that's Drew Brees, and that's the Saints. They're not really an NFL team.
It goes against the grain of what the media machine tells you you're supposed to believe. And that media machine tells you that you're supposed to believe that there's none so great as Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or previously Peyton Manning. And all this guy does is just been continuously doing it and doing it and doing it. Before we get off into all of that,
yes, my co-host Sean Williams.
Yeah, I want to pay the bills real quick. We want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring us. Invite you guys to subscribe to us on iTunes and on YouTube. And really quickly, I want to say a very, very special thanks. This has been the most for all Saints fans, but for me in particular. This has been one of the most incredibly spectacular weekends ever for me. And I want to thank three ladies. My beautiful wife.
Whoa. What kind of weekend did you have?
Okay, slow your roll. Slow your roll, because your wife is one of the ones I'm going to thank now.
Oh, I got you.
I want to thank my beautiful wife, Michelle Williams, Alan's wonderful wife, wonderful wife, Debbie, and Bob's fiance, Lauren Davenport, for organizing the dinner that we had the other night. I've told people ever since we left on Sunday that, I could have stayed for that Monday night game, but this weekend could not have meant more to me unless possibly one of our special guests tonight and John Pinto could have been involved in it in some way. That would have been the only way that this weekend could have meant more to me. And I want to thank the people that organized and went along with all the plans, and say how very, very blessed I was to be able to also meet a young man that I was fortunate enough to be there when he began, and to see everything that he's done with the writing and the podcasting. And last night on the penultimate night of this man's professional career, Tyler Raymond got to meet and get an autograph from Drew Brees before the game. It was so great to get to meet Tyler and his dad. It's something I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. But I want to thank everyone that made this weekend possible for us. And I'm glad to report that both Tyler and his dad and Bob and Lauren have both made it safely back home. I told Bob he needs to get home, pick Will up, pack him another bag, and they need to just come back and stay. And then all we got to do is get Pinto and tonight's guest. Boy, how's that for a segue? We want to welcome our first very special guest tonight. Someone that we have tried desperately to get on here, but the lacrosse team calls, and we want to welcome, without any further ado, John. I can't call you LWOS John Butler anymore. You've got to change your.
You know what?
Facebook
I
handle,
have tried to change that on Facebook, and they just won't let me do it. They're like, that's the name that you put in. That's where the people recognize you, and I can't shake it. I don't want to create a new account, so I'm just going to live with it for now, and we'll see. But great to be on the show. Great to talk to you guys, especially after a victory like that.
Absolutely.
That was an incredible game. I was so glad.
Oh, okay. The biggest question people have asked me all day. I know Alan's answer because I saw his Facebook post about how bad the allergies were inside the Superdome. Did you shed a tear?
I came close. I'll be honest with you. You know what? When the event happened, when everything kind of came into fruition, I got the goosebumps or whatever. But whenever he went to hug Sean Payton, I was like, oh man, I came close, but I managed to stay dry. I was actually in a sports bar with my family watching the first half, and then we kind of went home for the second half. But I held it together in public. I'm happy to say.
Well, I watched the game in private, so I didn't have to worry about who saw me. And what was odd was my wife is over here on her cell phone watching one stream, and I'm over here watching NFL mobile stream, and they weren't synced. Hers was ahead of mine. And she jumps up on the couch and she's thrashing about and screaming, and I'm going, well, I guess that takes the reaction away from me. But there were two things that instantly struck me in and around that play. Was the fact of leading up to it, exactly what was being said about him by Booger McFarland and Jason Witten and Tessitore, how they were talking, each one to a man were saying just how Drew Brees did it the right way and what a class guy and what a stand-up guy he was. And when he came off the field with the laminated paper and the football, he took the moment to lean down to his sons and he said, now I want you to know you can do anything that you work for. Yeah. That struck me. And the other thing that struck me, not that all is well throughout the world, so it's time for me to get stupid. How in the hell can the NFL, knowing that this is about to happen, seeing it play out on the grand stage, and you gonna throw a damn flag for delay of game?
No, it was excessive celebration, which is I thought was because I just watched the replay. I have it DVR'd because NFL Network shows it again at like 3:00 in the morning after Monday Night Football. They re-show Sunday night's game somewhere, at Monday morning ish, 2 or 3 in the morning. They re-show the Sunday night game, and on Monday night going to Tuesday morning, they re-show the Monday night game. Because sometimes I'm like, why the hell would I want to watch this game again? It was terrible the first time, but in this case, I was glad. So I DVR'd it and watched it a little while ago. And yeah, that official should have been ashamed of himself.
For sure.
Well, the thing that gets me is I couldn't help. I didn't want to feel this way, but the gut reaction, knee jerk reaction, when they announced that they had been penalized for excessive celebration was, if this was Tom Brady, they would have sent the visitors team back into the locker room to wait until they were prepared for the game to continue.
Yeah.
If this has been Aaron Rodgers, they would have made everyone take a knee and observe the festivities going on. And to see the reaction on social media, be it Twitter, be it Facebook, all these talking heads that jackass Maurice Jones-Drew, people, CTE is real. This man took way too many shots to the head to say that Ben Roethlisberger or Eli Manning is a more accomplished quarterback than Drew Brees. Either that or please drug test him.
Yeah, Max Kellerman was on that bandwagon too. He was talking about how guys like Brett Favre and Troy Aikman were better than Brees. It's like,
because, and I don't mean to interrupt, John, but it's this. Something happened in the turn of the century, and suddenly now the number of championships that a guy wins matters more than individual accomplishments now. And I don't know when this happened, but that's how we measure greatness now. And they're constantly moving the goalposts on Drew Brees, because I promise you, Brett Favre's only won one Super Bowl.
Right.
He won one Super Bowl. He's been to two. He lost the second one, but he won one. So he still keeps his mantle of greatness. But,
Aaron Rodgers has only won one.
Yes, Aaron Rodgers has only been to one. Ben Roethlisberger won two, but the first one, he really kind of almost lost the game. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if you're a Seattle fan, you can say, well, there was some questionable calls they gave this game to the Steelers, but that's another topic for another time. But the point is, you got to keep in mind that Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. Brad Johnson has a Super Bowl ring. Nick Foles has a Super Bowl ring.
Earl Morrall has a Super Bowl ring.
Yes, Earl Morrall does. I'm trying to think of the guy from the Giants from 1990.
Jeff Hostetler, yeah.
Yeah. He has a Super Bowl ring. So a lot of guys have won championships who were not great quarterbacks. So this whole idea of using how many championships you have as a metric is foolish to grade an individual player, because Terry Bradshaw has 4 Super Bowl rings, okay? And no one puts him in the same category as Montana and Brady, because everyone goes, well, look at that defense he had. Look at the defense he had.
Look at the defense Trent Dilfer had.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but you're making an exception for Brady. I mean for Bradshaw, that you're not making for any other player, because you don't think he deserves to be in that category of the guy who won 4 Super Bowls. And it's just ridiculous, because that's essentially doing the Breeze. Marino has no championships, but no one in their right mind, and Maurice Jones-Drew, if I was on that set, I would just look at him like, are you retarded? Because he says, well, that's why Marino's not on any top 10 list of great players. Really? You honestly believe that? Like I told you last week, Sean, Fran Tarkenton is still 8 on the yardage list. He is still 8. It's been 40 years since that man played football. And he never won a championship either. He lost 3 Super Bowls. Jim Kelly lost 4. But we don't diminish their accomplishments. So it's just
Drew Brees came along at a time where there was the Bradys, there was the Mannings, there was the Rodgers, there was the other Manning. And unfortunately, because New Orleans is not a major market arena, it seems like the media somehow gets their jollies or furthers their argument for these major media market players by diminishing what Breeze does. But I'm here to tell you, to reach 71,000, I can't remember the exact total.
Yeah.
To accomplish what he has accomplished, that didn't happen in a season.
No.
That didn't happen in a game. That's
consistent excellence.
Right.
That's right.
And that's what it is. It's consistent.
And you said it in your write-up on our Facebook page, the write-up that you did that used the analogy of the Vince Lombardi quote. That captured it so well because that encapsulates the entire career for Drew Brees.
Yeah. Yeah. The relentless pursuit of perfection, knowing full well you'll never reach it. You'll never catch it. But in the process, you will catch excellence. And that is Drew Brees. A friend of mine from high school, he and I were talking about that on my own page because I said, what it clicked for me with Brees was way back in the 2006 season when the Saints took that first bye, had that first bye week, and Brees stayed out there 2.5, 3 hours just running a practice with himself. And Sean Payton comes out and says, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm just simulating the game I would be playing right now if we had a game to play today." And Sean's like, "Okay, are we winning?" "Oh, yeah, we're winning." Well, that's good. But he stayed out there for another 2 hours, doing this. And that is the difference that separates the talented guys who just seem to hit that wall and never, ever get better from the elite guys, because Brees was constantly pushing himself. I set the NFL record for completion percentage, but you know what? I could be a little more accurate. I'm going to get a mechanics coach and work on my fundamentals so I am more accurate. That is that relentless pursuit of perfection that he'll never get to, but he's going to get better in the process. And it's just, and this goes into what you were just talking about, Sean, with the whole, who the Saints are viewed as compared to the major media markets, because Kansas City, Buffalo, Green Bay, New Orleans, those are all small media markets. The difference with an organization like Green Bay and Kansas City versus New Orleans, Green Bay predates the NFL. That is the original football franchise. One of the only ones that are left. Them and the Bears are two of the oldest franchises in the league history. So you have that legacy, the Lombardi legacy with the Packers. With the Chiefs, that was the founder of the AFL's team, Lamar Hunt's team. It's a small market team, but that they were the pinnacle. They were the ideal franchise of the AFL. And when the AFL and the NFL merged, of course, the Chiefs weren't as good anymore, but for the 60s, that was a model franchise. So they have that legacy. The Bills, even to an extent, have a legacy because of their 4 Super Bowls. When people look at the Saints, they look at the bagheads, they look at losing, they look at poor Archie, they look at, the endless fumbles and the follies and, never can get it right. 21 years to have a first winning season, all that stuff. That is their history. So that's the perspective that they look at a guy like Drew Brees as. That, yeah, Drew Brees, yeah, that was okay that he did those things. But, man, if he was just in Dallas or Miami or, Los Angeles or one of the major markets, then we could get excited about it. But, that's New Orleans. They're borderline NFL anyway. As soon as Brees is gone, they'll be back to the Aints. They'll be back to the Bagheads. And we don't have to worry about seeing that crap on our TV ever again. That won't be on national TV. And that's unfortunately what shapes the respect the perspective of Breeze's accomplishments. John, I mean, how do you feel? You live up in New York. You can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm nestled closer to the Giants and the Jets, but not too far south. I have the Eagles, so all of those are considered major market, and everything is a lot more hyped up than anything over here from the small market teams. But as far as Breeze, one of the big arguments I've been seeing this week, or over the past 24 hours rather, is because the game has changed so much and it's a pass happy league. That's why Breeze has the numbers that he has, but I don't see, with him with his 5,000 yard seasons.
Yes.
Where is everybody else's 5,000 yard season? He's not the only quarterback that plays in a dome. Everybody's playing with the same rules. How is it that he has more than everyone else in the history of the NFL combined? I mean, it's just the arguments don't make sense. And then for the people that are saying that Marino's better or Jim Kelly's better, I just don't understand the logic behind some of these decisions or the rationale. I mean, I'd love to hear, aside from the 109 extra interceptions, what has Brett Favre done that Drew Brees hasn't done? Because I'm sure I could give you a whole laundry list of things that Drew Brees has done that Brett Favre's never done. I mean, short of the touchdowns, which that's obviously coming, but yeah, it just drives me nuts.
And even there, is there any doubt in anyone on this panel's mind that Drew Brees could have done that last night? He could have reached that 500 touchdown club.
Oh yeah,
but he pulled himself.
if he really wanted it. And to me, I was kind of second guessing him being in as long as he was. Look, we won the game. He had his night. I understand you want to take care of the fans that are in the building, and no disrespect to you, Alan. You're always in the building. You always get all the good games. So
yeah,
I don't feel too bad. I don't feel too bad saying this, but save that milestone for another day, because I'd rather just get him off the field, get him into his bye week, and live to see another day, and he can have another moment. Whenever we go out to Baltimore.
I found myself last night at a point later in the fourth quarter. The stream that I was watching, I posted in the chat, and I said, "Geez, man, let him throw this touchdown pass, or let Bridgewater get some snaps. One of the two."
Right.
I think lost in all of this. Yes, he set the holy grail of passing marks last night, but I think lost in all of that, he threw for over 300 yards last night, and 3 passes all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, 26 to 29. Yeah, he's like 90% last night. It's like,
yeah,
the guy keeps getting better.
Right. Yeah, and these were not just dump off passes. These were not just, little high percentage throws. He was taking shots and still completing them. There's a lot that he is doing that just isn't getting noticed right now, because, and I like the Chiefs, don't get me wrong, but it's all about Mahomes right now in Kansas City.
Jared Goff, and
Jared Goff with the Rams.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can't see you. We actually have a better picture than we normally do with you. So I'm just saying.
Okay, you're on with me, but we're not on with them.
Wait, what?
Wow, I have my cell phone. Why is my picture not up?
I don't know.
Let me turn the camera on. I demand camera time.
Oh,
there
God.
we go.
There we go.
Okay. If you'll notice, I have Mr. Quinn Early on. We're going to have to figure out how to get him on camera with us. Okay. You guys carry on. Let me figure this out, and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. But yeah, what I was getting ready to say a second ago was that, here he is. He's completing even more passes than he completed last year for a higher percentage, I should say.
Right.
Then he had already set the mark for best completion percentage. But the NFL just isn't really focusing about that. It's like, yeah, they're just doing that. That's what New Orleans does. But hey, look at this nice shiny toy we got out here in Kansas City. Hey, aren't the Rams exciting? Look what's going on with the Rams. Oh man, Dallas has got a lot of problems now, don't they? Oh, the Giants, they got a lot of problems now, don't they? It seems like everything else is a topic or a discussion point than what Drew Brees is accomplishing. And once again, that's the whole, you live in a bad market, so we're not going to talk about you.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get used to being the second class citizen in the NFL. And if Brees hasn't proven that the Saints are newsworthy by now, then it's just kind of
that's the frustrating part. Yeah, and that's the frustrating part because you have, and this is just what you just said. Brees is playing in the same era as Peyton Manning, as Tom Brady, as all these quarterbacks that are doing all these things, and he's doing it better than they are. But their attitude is, yeah, but Brees is doing it in a dome. Or where's the wins? Where's all the playoffs? Where's all this? Forgetting, of course, and this is the stat padding argument that pissed me off last week, but forgetting, of course, that for most of the aughts and the early, the teens of the 2000s, Manning and Brady were all there was in the AFC. I mean, you look at every year, every playoff, it had to come down to the Colts versus the Patriots. That was the only game that mattered.
Agreed.
Whereas in the NFC, you ran a gauntlet. You had to run through the Eagles. You had to run through just the teams not a division. The Bucks, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears. Different. I think I counted 12 different teams from 2002 to 2017. 12 different teams have been in the NFC title game. Only 4 in the AFC in that same time period.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
So that's where Breeze's playoff games are.
And not only that, I'm sorry. I was going to say not
ahead.
only that, but Drew Brees has played with some historically bad defenses. I mean,
exactly.
Not even worse than the league. I mean, worse than history. So I mean, I don't know what the expectation is for Brees, but again, you can skew the stats however you want to skew them and say, this is what matters to me now in my top 5 or top 10 or this. But the bottom line is, anybody that's denying what Drew Brees has done and what he's accomplished is just fooling themselves. I mean, you don't want to say he's the best ever. That's fine. But to say he's not in the top 5 or not in the top 10, you just sound ridiculous, in my opinion, at least.
Flip Brees and Brady. Put Brees with Belichick in New England and put Brady in New Orleans. Same time period, same years. And who has more Super Bowl rings in that conversation? It's going to be Brees, Belichick, because Belichick built him defenses. And it's just like Marino, the tragic hero in Miami, not having a complete team around him all those years. The same is true for Drew Brees. He's had a couple, and he's won a championship with one, and he may win another one. But that's really, that's been the story of the Saints. They've never been able to build a complete enough team to make that run, to go through that gauntlet in the playoffs, because they've gone to the playoffs plenty of times. They just have not been able to advance. Now they can't advance past the divisional round. That's the wall they're hitting right now.
Yeah, To your point, I mean, if you took Drew Brees and swapped him out with Troy Aikman and put him behind those lines and give him Michael Irvin and Novacek and that defense, and he'd have a fistful of rings just like Aikman does. So yeah, for sure. It's frustrating, but I guess I'm at the point where it is what it is.
Oh, there we go. I think we have Quinn Early in here.
We got a visitor.
there we go. Let's see if we can get his volume. Let's see. Yes. We're gonna turn up the volume on everybody. Okay, and Sean just dropped out. There he is.
Yeah, I had to reestablish contact.
Okay, I think Quinn is still trying to get the volume to come up in his now. I can see him talking. I just can't hear you. I can't. I don't hear anything, Quinn.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me, Alan?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, then.
Let's see. Okay, I see Quinn playing with his phone, so. Well, we didn't come all this way for no volume on this one.
Not going to ask them to hold up signs.
Right. Yeah. Yep, he's gonna try and jump back in again. Okay.
Alan, I know you were at the game. I just wanted to ask you: did you see the stat during the broadcast? They mentioned it that Breeze has caught his own pass 6 times in his career.
No, I did not. I did not see that.
They met after it happened in this game. They mentioned it. I was like 6 times. I mean, that's
I can believe it.
That's got to be close to a record if it's not a record.
Well, I'll tell you what. Eventually, it's going to happen. You know how they keep putting Taysom Hill in the backfield and letting Breeze line up wide. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they're going to have Taysom Hill throw to Drew in that situation.
I could see that
because
Drew's an athlete, so yeah.
Yeah, they're setting that up, and Drew would love it. Drew would love to jump up high, scare the hell out of everybody, and catch a ball at the highest point just to show he can do it.
Yeah, give Saints fans a heart attack in the process.
Exactly. But that would be so much smack talk in the film room. He'd be telling every receiver, hey, man, I don't want to hear about me throwing the ball too high because look what I just did. That kind of thing. Oh, I need to show you all this. They unfortunately they only did this in the suites. Which kind of sucks. They should have had these things out there for everybody, but this is what they gave out. This little pennant they gave to us in the suite. Right after he did that at halftime, they came in and put a whole stack of them in there. So, man, my program from the game.
That's awesome.
I got one of those.
That's awesome.
And this little deal, yeah. Okay. I got a few of these things, but this little deal here, let's go see.
If you touch your screen, once you get it pulled up, if you touch your screen,
you know what I like about Taysom Hill, it kind of lends itself to the point that you always make about Sean Payton, is that he'll set Taysom Hill up in the same formation,
and you can turn
and run 4 or 5 different plays out of it. Whether Hill runs, hands it to Kamara, passes. I mean, it's really fun to watch, and even when that set of players comes out there, you still have no idea what's coming at you.
Right.
Check it out.
It really lets him be creative, which is
exactly
fun this year.
Well, and I haven't talked a whole lot about Taysom Hill because each time you see more and more things that he is doing with these packages. The RPO is still obviously the most successful one, but you saw him throw a pass last week from the gunner position in a fake punt. Eventually, he's going to be a holder, and he's going to flip it out on a fake field goal or a fake extra point where they might go for 2 or something like that. There's going to be more and more things that he does, and I'm waiting. There will be a game, I'm sure, though he'll return a kick for a touchdown, catch a touchdown pass, and throw a touchdown pass all in the same game.
Right, yeah.
Just to show he can.
For sure. Yeah, like something out of Madden, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just somebody tweeted something last night that I can't wait to play in my fantasy football league. Taysom Hill is the running back, receiver, tight end, and quarterback all at one time. It's really, and it's kind of like the what it makes other teams have a hard time preparing for the Saints and what these packages mean. But it's kind of like we saw with Kamara last year, where suddenly now you've got this new weapon, this new toy, and we're just finding out new ways to use them and utilize them. And defenses don't know how to deal with him right now.
And we saw in the touchdown last night how fast the guy is. I mean,
absolutely.
Nobody was getting the corner on him once he took off. That was it.
I think it's funny that nobody wants to race him. Like he's talking, how no player wants to race him.
I believe it.
Let's see. While he's still playing, okay.
Your mic's still.
John, talk a little bit. What do you think about Mark Ingram's return and his impact on the game yesterday? I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns, but how would you rate that? How would you grade that?
You know what? I mean, if you just look at the statistics, the yards per carry doesn't really jump out at you as something that you're excited to have back. But I just to me the value between the combination of his leadership. His just adding that extra excitement into the offense, and defenses not being able to prepare for a Gillislee or something like that. When you see Ingram come in, and you still have no idea what's coming, just like with Kamara. So I think the combination of all those things, really help the offense in ways that aren't going to show up on a stat sheet.
Right. I thought, well, first off, Gillislee and Williams and all those other players that they've tried in that position, you saw them struggle to get past the line of scrimmage, whereas Ingram clearly was getting those extra yards.
Right.
Even though it wasn't as big as what he had been doing, clearly he was getting the extra yards that he needed to move the ball, score, get in the red zone. You punch it in the end zone stuff. But I saw, the screen pass was huge.
Right.
And the other thing that I saw was really, really big was just the pass blocking, the blitz pickup he was doing.
For sure.
He was a little rusty. He missed a couple early. In fact, we lucked out because the Redskins stupidly shoved him to the ground after they sacked Breeze because he missed a blitz. But after that, from that point on, I saw a much better blitz blocking out of him that you did not, or blitz pickup blocking that you just didn't see with any of the backs.
Until I get,
it was something that needed. We needed that this week. We needed. Breeze needed to have that confidence that this guy is going to pick this dude up, this safety coming under, this corner coming off the edge or whatever. So now I can focus more downfield, slide up and make those deeper throws, start spreading that ball around. We saw all that.
Breeze looked like a different player last night, for sure.
Yeah. And it's like, to me, it was like, he was happy because he had his bodyguard.
How do you feel about this?
Right, you got that extra, little bit of protection that buys you that extra half a second or
in the final analysis, I'm more proud
for sure. I mean, that's all the peace of mind that he needs.
Than I am the player
so I mean, he got some of the rust off. I thought he got a little bit better later on. You're still trying to fit Taysom Hill in this whole scheme too, and like Kamara kind of got phased out a little bit, but at the same time, I think the Redskins was so geared up on stopping him because of what he did to him last year, that
true.
They kind of forgot about everybody else.
It's
right, I mean that's almost to a certain extent
wristbands
the way Mike Thomas has looked the past couple of weeks.
Was
just
sent to me by
he's as effective
when I had my diagnosis,
distracting the defense as he is when the ball comes his way. So
from the Breeze,
it's getting to the point now where it's pick your poison for the Saints offense.
I wore it,
and we didn't even talk about Ted Ginn going down with an injury and Traquan Smith kind of filling in pretty well.
Recoup from your class.
Exactly. Traquan Smith had his breakout game. Well, let's talk a little bit about some people having a breakout game. 2 players on defense, I thought really, actually 3 players, but 2 players we didn't expect really stepped up in this game. I said
But
in my little
we'll get together
column,
again as soon as
I
possible.
think watch
Because I know
Lawrence
that
Taylor footage all
we're
week
working
instead
on a
of
time
preparing for
frame
the
with this
game because
contest.
he killed
I'll
Alex
try my best to
Smith when he got
explain
a
it
Was that
hold
as
of
best I
him.
Davenport?
can.
Davenport,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. I didn't know that.
On that,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry that blindside hit.
Well,
When
I'm
he
working on a
knocked
few
that
radio
ball
spots
loose.
here on Sports Talk
I'll
Radio.
tell you what.
Especially
I've got a few
I
friends in
um,
high place
I was gonna
or
say I am
low friends in high places, if you want to
since
call it
last
that.
year I am a big Alex Okafor guy.
I'm kind of
There's some
exercising the vines
debates,
there to
on
see what I
social
can get
media
out
about
of it. I got one guy
how
that's
Alex
that's bid
Okafor
on it.
deserved the position and everything like that. This Davenport kid, though.
All right, man. Well, I'll keep you posted.
There's nobody's going to
Thanks,
deny
Quinn.
him.
Talk to
He
you
is
later,
just
man.
such a freak talent, and now he's just picking everything up so quickly. Yeah, Davenport is looking like looking like every bit the 2 first-round picks that he should be.
Yes, and how about Justin Hardy coming to life in the game with Marshawn Lattimore once again getting knocked out early against the Redskins. This time by friendly fire, he got a concussion,
Right.
but Justin Hardy comes in to play cornerback, and he actually does very well.
Surprise.
It helped that Alex Smith was pretty rattled most of the night, wasn't very accurate, but I found that Hardy.
Am I on?
Yes, you are on now. You are on
Was
now.
I on the whole time I was on the phone with Quinn?
No, I muted you because
Thank you, Jesus.
You were talking over us. So,
well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to tell everybody, Quinn sends his apologies. We've had some sort of technical issue that we can't resolve tonight. We're going to get him back on as soon as we possibly can. And I'm going to try to announce this contest.
absolutely.
I'm pulling up the information now, so you guys go ahead and continue what your line of thought was there.
Yeah, but I just thought that Justin Hardy played a very good game for a guy thrown into the fire, a guy who really is a defensive back. He's not really a cornerback. He's not really a safety. He's really kind of in that tweener role right now, and he held his own.
For sure, yeah. His interception. I mean, I'm sure you're going to remember this, but
yeah,
it reminded his interception return when he fell short of scoring. It reminded me of Phil McConkey in the Super Bowl, where he just missed and he just like collapsed there, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so close." But
exactly.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about. Yeah, Justin Hardy played really well. I was obviously concerned at the beginning of the game when Lattimore went down. Obviously, the Saints kind of stretched their legs and did what they did on offense, so it became less of a concern as the game went on. But
I don't know.
No.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say another good thing about that Lattimore injury is that we've got coming into a bye week, so it gives us the extra week to
absolutely
kind of make sure
I
he's
searched earlier to try to find any sort of update I could on either Lattimore or Stallworth, and I couldn't find anything.
They're not going to release anything until they have to.
That's usually on Wednesday when they release the injury report.
And it won't be until next week. You won't see anything this week at all.
Yeah, we got no game, right?
I think that the Saints dodged 2 major bullets last night. Number one was, as I sat here and watched this game, I looked at my wife and I said, how can this guy be a head football coach at this level? Because within the first 5 minutes of the game, you saw two of the Saints starting cornerbacks go out the game, and you never saw any attack on that. They never, with that. I mean, Alex Smith played to the narrative that surrounds him constantly. Check down Charlie. They never went vertical, and the one play that they did, they almost scored on and set up the Alex Smith rushing touchdown that happened. But you never saw them attack that. But outside of that, they like I said, they dodged a major bullet because they had players like Hardy, and I'll be the first one to sit here and admit I've made jokes. I've doled out punishment. I've heaped ashes on PJ Williams' head, but uh, I don't know who was playing in PJ Williams' uniform, but they did an excellent job because he was flying all over the field. He was making tackles, which him making tackles is what made me consider the option that may not actually be him wearing that uniform. But I digress. Um, but the defense rose to the occasion, and last night you saw a glimpse of the New Orleans Saints team that finished the season last year. You saw an urgency throughout the game, not just because you were behind or because it was the first quarter. You saw them play with a focus and with a purpose that you haven't seen in the previous month of the season. Welcome back, angry Mark Ingram. He did a lot more than he will ever get, as Alan alluded to in his write-up earlier. He did a lot more than he will ever be recognized for. That screen pass in the first series was just the tip of the iceberg. Drew Brees being upright and throwing passes is largely due to Mark Ingram's pass blocking. And
Well, I was going to say, going with that train of thought you were talking about before with the defense and getting lucky, I think part of the reason why Alex Smith was doing so many checkdowns, aside for it being his personality, the lack of a running game by the Redskins. They couldn't control the clock. They fell behind by double digits early in the game. So that really messed them up. But the other thing was on key passing downs, I found that the Saints defensive line was pushing around the Redskins offensive line. Yes, they had a couple conversions, some spectacular catches and some runs after the catch if he got it out quick enough. But Sheldon Rankins had a big game. Cam Jordan, of course, Cam Jordan had a good game again, as expected. We already talked about Davenport having his impact. When they blitzed 5, I saw the fifth guy affecting Smith's throws enough that either they tipped it at the line or they made him sail it high and out of the range or one-hop him to open receivers because he didn't have time to set up and throw. So the two work hand in hand. But, Jay Gruden called a terrible game. I thought it was a horrible game plan they put together, but their thinking was they actually believed they were going to be able to run the ball, control the clock, keep the Saints offense off the field, and just wear the Saints defense down. And, if there's anything we've known about this defense over the first 5 weeks of the season, you're not going to run the ball well against them. You're not going to be able to run the ball consistently against them. You might get some plays, but if the Saints defense doesn't respect your quarterback's ability to throw the ball, you're not going to be able to run that football. They're going to take that away from you. So,
and I got to give a shout out. Adrian Peterson, the ageless wonder that he is.
Oh boy.
Look, you can say what you want to about the guy, and it didn't work out in New Orleans, and I wished him the best going to Arizona as he did, and I wish him nothing but the best in Washington. Can we at least recognize that on the first series, he hyperextended his knee?
Ooh, it looks horrible. I saw it on the replay. It looked horrible.
It came back in the game, and it was revealed today that he dislocated his shoulder at some point during the game and finished the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. They'd had to call an ambulance down on the turf to come and get my broken pieces up. That just goes to prove that Adrian Peterson is a very good picture for me. One of the last images that I saw on the stream that I watched was Drew Brees at midfield, and Adrian Peterson came out and spoke to him and hugged him at midfield, and that's two Hall of Famers right there.
Well, what they didn't show you was in the locker room. Adrian Peterson went total uh, Murdoch from Lethal Weapon on you. He just took that shoulder and slammed it in the wall to put it back in position. And screams, the whole bit, and the rest of the team was like, "Oh, okay, I got you."
Okay, before we get to whistle bit on our time here, let me see. Our buddy, our friend, our guest, as soon as we can get the issues worked out, Quinn Early. Was it 2 weeks ago he was on with us?
I think it was 3 weeks now.
3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was 3 weeks.
Okay, well, he was discussing the book that he authored called Bryant Acres. He's holding a contest, and I'm going to try my best to go through this without screwing it up too bad. He's holding a contest. Grand prize is a dinner and a meet and greet that will include Quinn Early, Torrance Small, Ricky Jackson, the Hall of Famer, Tyrone Hughes, and other former Saints. To be entered into this contest, you need to get your autographed copy of BryantAcres.com. Go to this site and buy the book, Bryant Acres, at okay. You guys bear with me. I'm trying to read this. Don't take your glasses off, stupid. Yeah, bear with me. Okay, you buy this from the website, BryantAcres.com. You email the receipt of your purchase to BryantAcres@gmail.com to be entered into the grand prize to have dinner with the Saints or win one of the several autographed helmets signed by the current Saints team and several signed jerseys. Your book receipt is also your admission ticket into the event. Book is $16. Regular admission is $20. And this is going to be held at Alan?
I'm listening to you.
This is your hometown. Help me out here.
Oh, okay.
Impastados
Restaurant.
Okay. 3400 16th Street. I could read that.
Yeah.
In Metairie.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Impastados Restaurant. That is behind the Lakeside Mall. Is a famous, long-time New Orleans Saints restaurant. Long before Drago's became the restaurant to go to for Saints fans and Saints players, Impastados was like the restaurant to go to. People love to go to that restaurant. There's tons of Saints memorabilia all over the wall. Saints memorabilia, New Orleans memorabilia. You see pictures of Al Hurt on the wall, that kind of stuff. Yes, I've been there. Good restaurant.
I apologize for the hatchet job that I put out there as far as describing the event. But the biggest focus needs to be that all the proceeds from this contest, from the book, from the event, goes to Alzheimer's research and what have you. And that's something that Quinn is very, very involved in, and something that hits home to the Under the Dome family as well. And I know that John Butler is going to charter his own personal Lear to be down here for that event on November the 3rd.
You're killing me. You know how much I wish I could be down there. You mentioned the lacrosse thing at the beginning of the show. That's actually my son's fall lacrosse tournament weekend out at Rutgers, so I will not be able to come down. I mentioned that to Quinn.
Well, when's the first game?
What time is the first game?
Yeah.
I don't think the schedule's out yet, but
You know,
we'll have to.
If things go terribly, terribly wrong, there's time for you to charter a personal shuttle service and still make it on time. I'm just saying. I'm
That's
a problem
true.
solver.
I'm gonna put together the GoFundMe page right now and see if I can see how much people like my work.
There you go. wait, hang on. You didn't get the Lear? You didn't get the keys to the plane when you jumped over Canal Street Chronicles? I talked to Bob about this.
I did not.
How do you think Bob got down to New Orleans? I mean, I don't want to start trouble or anything like that, but
taking the private CSC.
Bob got the Lear. That's exactly it. You should have the logo. We did, Sean. We went on a tour. Oh, wait, you didn't get to go on a tour, did you? Damn it! I gotta quit talking about this stuff.
Seriously.
Bob lands at the airport in New Orleans and he sends me a text message and he says, "There is no damn limo sitting here." I said, "You really need to talk to somebody about that." And he said, "Yeah, well, I can't tell you what he said, but all jokes aside, this is a very worthwhile event, and we're very." To my knowledge, I do believe that Alan and I are both going to be a part of the event that night at Impastados. Did I say it right?
Impastados, yes.
We have been invited to be.
Repeat the date and time, please.
November 3rd.
Thank you.
2018.
I would hope.
Well, my glasses are only so great. Hang on. There's going to be from 5 to 7. Well, that wasn't the right button. From 5 to 7 is going to be a meet and greet and autograph session. You'll be able to sit and shake hands and take photos, what have you, with all these players, I would assume. And having met, through the auspices of this show, having made contact and gotten to know a little bit of some of these guys like Quinn, and I could tell you my own personal Torrance Small story, but time doesn't allow that tonight. And Tyrone Hughes has appeared on our show before too. It would be something on a bucket list worthy to be able to meet these guys, and very, very. They come from a different time, and this is something that we've alluded to all night with all the Breeze stuff. These guys played at a different time when the player was more than the game. Or wait a minute, I got that backwards. That the game was bigger than the players. But
there we go.
Okay.
But the players had respect for the game and the fans in a way that seems to be lost now.
Yeah, we didn't have the instant contact with these players that we seem to have today. I mean, I can remember, if I saw a Saints player out in public, I mean, that was a big deal because for the most part, they kept an arm's length away from me because there was no social media. There was no, email ability. And you saw them on the field on Sundays and maybe at scheduled public appearances. But other than that, you didn't see football players daily. So this is a rare opportunity for people. Again, this is at Impastados Restaurant, 3400 16th Street in Metairie, behind Lakeside Mall. It starts at 5, and it's a meet and greet from 5 to 7. The grand prize is a dinner with these players, these former players, Torrance Small, Ricky Jackson, Tyrone Hughes, and Quinn Early. There'll be some other former Saints who, that'll be the surprise. Other former Saints, maybe from his era, that will show up to do the meet and greet. If you get a copy of Quinn Early's book, Bryant Acres, at bryantacres.com, that's Bryant, Bryant, Acres, like Green Acres. I've just dated myself by saying that, but ACRES, dun 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 dun, bum bum, .com. It's a book by Quinn Early. It's about a sharecropper. I'm sorry, a freed man of color, wasn't it? A
Yes.
free man of color, yeah, not a sharecropper, but a free man of color in his experience. And if you get a copy of that book from BryantAcres.com, your receipt is your ticket to enter the grand prize to have dinner with the Saints. They also have other prizes you can win: autographed helmets by current and former Saints players, several signed jerseys. The book is $16. If you don't buy the book, if you just want to be a cheap bastard and just go try walking in the door, $20. So you're not being really cheap. That's why I said buy the book. Use the promo code Go Saints. 2 words, Go Saints, G-O, not G-E-A-U-X. Go Saints, the old-fashioned way, at BryantAcres.com. And the proceeds of the sale for Bryant Acres, A Love Story, goes to support the Alzheimer's Association of New Orleans. We will have Quinn on again to talk about this before November 3rd. Hopefully, we can get him right before that weekend to really kind of hype this thing up. That would be great. But
you can also RSVP on Facebook.com/author speaker Quinn Early, all one word.
That perfect.
Now let's frame this up properly and talk about the incredible work of Mr. John Butler.
Incredible work of John Butler. You must have known another John Butler.
You're making it hard to hype you, dude.
No. Before I get into that, I just wanted to say that the event for Quinn Early is November 3rd. That's a Saturday. I'm fully expecting that November 6th and 13th, that Torrance Small and Ricky Jackson will be on your show in successive weeks. So make sure you come with your business card, make your pitch, and get these guys on the show.
I gotta get some business cards.
I actually know Torrance because his daughter and my daughter are about the same age, and we both played. Both our kids played AAU basketball at the time, so it was.
Gotcha.
I used to run into him a lot. He was with the Kenner Angels, and then he kind of formed his own league. And I used to see him a lot. Very friendly guy, very very approachable. Not a standoff guy at all.
Torrance was one of the very first former Saints players that I ever met. And I've told this story several times. I'm not going to rehash it now. But the gesture that he made to me the night that we met, I will never live long enough to forget. And it's from what I've understood from talking to other guys that were teammates of him, that just goes to prove what kind of stand-up guy that Torrance Small is. So I really look forward to 5 or 6 years down the road now to running back into him and to letting him know that that guy that he prayed for that night, because he had just been diagnosed with cancer, is standing right before him.
There you go.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. It really is. What did we forget? You guys, if you want to see some of the most in-depth interviews and some of the classiest work that I believe I've ever seen, you guys have to look up our guest tonight, John Butler, and the work that he does.
Thanks.
Some of it was on Last Word on Sports.
Correct.
Why is that so hard to say?
That's why I'm not there anymore. I couldn't get it out of my mouth.
Currently at Canal Street Chronicles. John has done such an amazing and wonderful job on the series. Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong. Life of a Saint.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. I got a few people lined up. I've already done one with Quinn Early. I followed that up with Tyrone Hughes. In the process of typing up Alex Molden right now, and I got a couple that are right in line right behind that. Should be a couple of pretty intriguing
So,
articles coming up.
so you focus when you do these stories. Are you talking about their career, or are you talking about life after, or both, or
It's basically but the before, during, and after of their
okay?
career. So kind of paint the picture what got them there. Take it. Some information through their career, and what they've done since, and then what their plans are, what their goals are from here forward. So um, I kind of go in with some base questions, and they kind of just lead me in the direction they want to go, and what's important to them, and then I just transcribe it, throw it on the computer, and they do all the hard work, and I just put the pieces together. So it's been a lot
Uh,
of fun, though.
I
did
still think you need to find you a trusty sidekick and have your own show, man.
That would be fun. I think. Yeah, I know, Sean. We had this conversation off air a while ago. You definitely lose some of the interview, just not hearing hearing the voice and hearing the
Yeah.
inflections, and I
Yeah.
mean, the Tyrone Hughes article. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I'm sure for some people that weren't that old, it was somewhat informative. But he is by far. I've had the chance to interview probably maybe a dozen or more Saints. By far the funniest guy I've spoken to. I mean, we were laughing the entire. I think we spoke for an hour and 20 minutes or so, laughing the whole time. It was he has some great stories that just it didn't kind of fit with what I was trying to write that day, but really funny guy. But yeah, you're right. It would be nice to either carve up the interviews and put them out on YouTube, or start like a podcast or something like that.
I gotta ask, did Alex Molden, did the name Eddie George even come up?
I did not go there. No.
Uh, because I'll be honest with you. Now, I would
He's a
probably.
troublemaker.
Oh yeah, I probably am a troublemaker when it comes to that. But I honestly, I would like to ask him, how does he feel about his time in New Orleans, and how does he feel? Because there was that expectation among Saints fans to get someone else, not get him, but get someone else. Did that affect his perception of the city, of the fans, or anything like that? Because I think that's these players know this stuff. I mean, Donovan McNabb has talked about the booing he got, when he was drafted instead of Ricky Williams by the Eagles fans, and Aaron Rodgers plays with a chip on his shoulder because he slid so far down the draft. So did, and Randy Moss said part of the reason why he went off on Dallas on Thanksgiving Day back in his rookie year was because Dallas passed on him in 1998. So I'm just curious.
Dallas promised him that they were going to draft him, and then they crawfished on the deal at the 11th hour.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering, was that something that even entered Alex Molden's mind?
Yeah, you know what? He when we spoke, he really didn't have much bad to say about the Saints fans, the city, the media. The one area he did go is he thought he was unfairly treated by the coaching staff, and he didn't. He was in Ditka's doghouse, and he didn't have any. There was no logical reason why he was there, because he, at the time he was coming off one of his best camps, and so there was definitely it felt like there was some animosity toward Ditka, but not toward the city or the fans or anything like that. I don't know how much the media really plays into his psyche, or how he feels about that kind of stuff. But
Yeah. Well, Dicker was a lot of people were in his doghouse without rhyme or reason. I mean, I always look at, at the time it didn't strike me as that, but I look back at Jim Everett. Jim Everett should have been the red flag that everyone missed. Uh, when he just looked at Danny Abramowitz's offense and said, you know what? I'm out of here. There's no way we're going to win anything running plays like this.
Right.
This guy is way out of his league trying to coach an NFL team running these plays from the 1960s and early 70s, thinking you're going to be able to play in the 90s with this stuff. Send me to San Diego. I want to get the hell out of here because I don't need to humiliate myself. So,
Just think, all of those led us to where we eventually ended up last night.
Yeah,
it's true.
Standing there watching a ball game, grown men bawling our eyes out.
well, and that was something I was going to say earlier. This is where quarterback careers came to die forever. Going back to that statement I was making earlier about the Saints being, the black sheep of the stepbrother of the NFL. Once you get past poor Archie, you just look at the quarterbacks that we've had. Even if we had a Hall of Famer like Ken Stabler, it's at the end of his career. He's playing on wrecked knees. He's not the player he was in Oakland. Jim Everett looked like something, but he was a broken quarterback coming from the Rams. Aaron Brooks looked like he could have been something, but he was an illusion. All these things, not Billy Joel. No, we didn't have Allentown. We had the Billy Joe Hobarts, Billy Joe Tolliver. When a quarterback got the hell out of here and actually had some talent like Billy Kilmer or Jake Delhomme, they actually go to the Super Bowl once they get out of this organization. But that's, to me, that's why people were crying, because who would have thought in 2006 when you sign a quarterback with a ripped up shoulder who couldn't even hold his jersey on that day that he was signed. If you watch, he has to hold it down here with two fingers. He has no strength. Is going to throw for 71,000 yards.
That's 4 Mount Everests.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That's the only thing I remembered from that graphic that I saw today.
Yeah, well,
but I want, I very rarely do I do any kind of post-game reaction on Facebook. But, last night I felt inclined to because it was such a history-making event. And, one of the things that I think not enough attention is being paid to and not enough people realize was, for the most part, the first half of that game last night was a celebration really and truly of the greatest quarterbacks that have ever played this game. In the top three, Brett Favre from Gilman, Mississippi, which is less than an hour away from New Orleans. And he grew up a Saints fan. And Peyton Manning, which, he grew up inside the Superdome because his dad was the original franchise quarterback for this organization. And, of course, Drew Brees, who, to paraphrase the thing that I wrote, he's rewritten the narrative of the perspective of what this team and this organization is. And I don't think that there's been enough attention paid to just how representative these quarterbacks of that generation, being Manning, Favre, Breeze, so on and so forth, how representative that is of the New Orleans Saints organization. You kind of got to take pride where you can get it when you're, as we compared it to at the beginning of the show, when you're an also-ran and when your franchise is known far more for its futility than for its successes, you kind of got to take your pride where you can get it. And being a New Orleans Saints fan now, that pride is worth a lot more than you had the kicker that kicked the longest field goal in NFL history. uh, you know,
Yeah.
as we said a week ago, the first running back to reach 1,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards receiving in 20 games, the first 20 games of his career, is a New Orleans Saint. The wide receiver that catches the most passes through the first month of the season is a New Orleans Saint. And now, the most productive quarterback to ever line up behind center is a New Orleans Saint. And I don't think that it's mentioned nearly enough that I respect the man that represents this organization and this franchise far, far more than I respect the player that wears that number 9 jersey.
Yeah.
That's what Drew Brees is to this team. That's what Drew Brees is to that city. That's what Drew Brees is at a time when the NFL needs heroes and needs positive things to look at. You got it right there in front of you. And all you want to do is diminish the accomplishments of the man.
Yep.
True.
Exactly.
And to speak to what you guys were just talking about a second ago with the list of, I'll be generous and say B- and lower quarterbacks that have led us to Drew Brees. You know, as I'm watching everything last night, one of the things that popped into my head is sooner or later this is going to be over, and who knows if it's going to be another 5 years, if it's going to be another 50 years before we see this kind of success behind center again. So enjoy it while you got it, because
you're right.
Well, I've told people all day, I've done a few interviews today, and I've made the comment, and after the fact, I stopped and I went back and I thought about it and thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I said that we'll never see another player like Drew Brees in the National Football League, because this generation that's coming up now is being taught that it's acceptable to be so me-centric and self-serving, and what can this game do for me?
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, one of the few guys that I can say genuinely that is as giving and as whatever you want to call it, as Drew Brees is the man that basically is responsible for him being a New Orleans Saints, and that's Phillip Rivers in San Diego.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, guys. Well, we kind of, as usual, go over time. We're at almost a 9:30 mark, but that's how it works around here. We get into good discussions. I mean, it is what it is.
When
thank
people
you guys
stop
for
watching, we'll quit going long.
There you go. There you go. I'm watching the numbers go up and down as we go past the time. Like, are they still talking? Yeah, they are. Let's go ahead and get off. Oh, look, they're still talking. Anyway, guys, thank you, John, for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
How can we follow you, or how can somebody stalk you on social media?
If I'm not stalking them already, no, it's at St. John Butler, all spelled out, SAINT, John Butler. On pretty much all the social media, or you can run over to Canal Street Chronicles. If you look up Life of a Saint, you'll find, I've only done 2 so far, but you'll find the articles, and you can check them out there, or you can check out any number of other great writers that they've got over. They got a lot of good ones. So
good deal, John. Well, John, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I was going to say, hopefully, I kept the chair nice and warm for Bob next week, that he can jump back in and take his usual role.
His usual spot.
That's right.
His usual spot. Yeah, that's right. That is John. Bob is the unofficial third member of our team, but John, you always do in a pinch.
Wait a minute. We've done an hour and a half, and it's time. It's time for me to do it. Are y'all ready?
What are you going to do? Sing,
ahead,
dance?
Syndicate, baby.
Oh, there it is.
What the hell?
I love it. I didn't see that coming. That's great.
I got, that reminds me of the meme. The guy's talking to his therapist, and he says, she just never talks to me. I try and get her attention. She's not even looking at me. Then she starts looking at me, and then she starts throwing up gang signs. And the woman says, she just signed that she's deaf.
I love it.
Well, I mean,
only those that are close to us will understand what all that meant. So
yeah.
I did that strictly for for John.
That's great. Inner circle stuff. I love it.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So is Dante's Inferno. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight as we enter the ninth circle of hell. And once again, we have a bye week this week coming up. So, no Saints football again this Sunday, which actually was kind of enjoyable. I was not my neighbors. Well, my neighbors, for a change, in here, profane words every 30 seconds out of my house. Like, oh, Saints playing right now. I just heard somebody, either that or he has Tourette's, one or the other, But anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Bye.